Okay, welcome Hillary to the Abundance Club. It is so, so great to have you here and your beautiful energy. So thank you for saying yes to this.
Pleasure. It's my honor, and I'm so glad to just know you're just up the road.
I know this is so cool because like one of the things I love about podcasting, and I know that you've got a podcast as well, which I have listened to, so that's amazing.
Mm.
I kind of leave this all open to the divine in terms of like I let the divine make my appointments of who's meant to come in.
Mm.
And you popped into my awareness, and I'd mentioned to you how like I feel like we speak the same language in so many ways. And I love this space to be a place where we can have these deeper, juicy conversations and just bounce off each other. So I'm really, really excited for that. But then
Mm.
to find out that you're actually on the Sunshine Coast, I'm like, okay, this is divinely aligned. I love it.
I know, I love it as well because you almost can't plan it, you can't make it up, and I just feel like when you're in that trust and surrender, that's where like all the magic happens. That's where I love the quote. Even Einstein said it is coincidences are God's way of staying anonymous. And I just love that
Mm.
because
Mm.
it can happen all the time, every day.
Absolutely. And particularly when you're open to it and you're
Yeah.
willing to let that go and hand it over. And I've discovered that we're both projectors. So
Mm.
this is all really cool. The thing that I also love when I was listening to your podcast, and even without even having to go into all of your bio, which is
Hmm.
incredible, that I can just tell that you are someone who has walked your own path of transformation and you do the work and you combine your human design with you're into the Kabbalistic teachings as well,
Yes,
which
love.
I love and have been diving
Hmm.
into over the past few years. Internal family systems, parts
Hmm.
work, quantum physics, like all of the things. I'm also a one line in my
Yes.
projector. So it's like, love the deep dive, want to go right in. So to begin with, can you share? I'd love for you to share, like, how did you first come to discover these different pathways that you now bring into the work that you do, and how did they support you to really shape your becoming, like who you've
Mhm.
become in this era? How did they support you with that?
Oh gosh, everything. I feel like when you understand energetics, these incredible wisdoms that have been downloaded for us. And what I find is that it awakens a remembering within you. A lot of these things, it's like, oh yeah, that's how it feels. Or, oh yes, I knew this. And you may have learned it in past lifetimes, or it just strings in this chord of soul knowing and soul remembering, as I like to feel into it and think of it. So, growing up, I didn't live or wasn't surrounded by spirituality or these types of conversations. It was something I found in my 20s. And very stereotypically, it was in the rock bottom, in the identity crisis, in the waking up one day thinking, like, how did I get here? How, I knew I made all these decisions that had created my life, but I didn't understand why I wasn't feeling how I thought I would feel. I didn't understand, why am I not feeling happy? Why am I not feeling fulfilled? Why do I feel almost jaded and jibbed at the ripe age of 27? Like, I feel like midlife crises are happening for people younger and younger. And I'm so grateful for that time now. I'm so grateful. And I was even thinking about this yesterday. That woman or that girl was so brave because she really had no idea what she was doing, but there was this trust and this knowing and this hope, the hope that can be within you of just this glimmer of feeling of there has to be something more. And I just want to remind anyone listening, if they're feeling that sense of, is this it? Is there something else? It's so important to know that there is something for you, because if you're asking that question, there's an answer to that question. And so exactly how you shared about how the divine or life will plop opportunities or people into your awareness. It was similar for me, and it was what I was ready to receive or hold at the time. And my first and biggest love was human design. And that came through on a podcast. I wasn't looking for spiritual podcasts. I was looking at health and wellness podcasts to help me with my stress. I was working in a law firm, was had lost my period. I was starting to have panic attacks, and that wasn't my experience in the past. I wasn't an anxious person growing up. And I was just looking for answers and beautifully. And again, I'm so grateful for that time because if I didn't feel confused, if I didn't feel lost, I wouldn't have found the what I've since discovered. And so it really started of a big it started as like a desire to understand why I was feeling the way I was feeling because I looked around and I didn't feel like anyone else really understood. And then, yeah, as life presented and me being in my one line, I dived deep and got curious. And as life does, it plops things into your awareness. And, you hear someone say something and your body expands and says, is there something here for me? And then you take the invitations. Life is giving you hundreds of thousands of invitations every single day to say, will you choose better for yourself? Or will you choose fear over freedom or darkness over light or judgment over love? And every time that you say yes, basically to yourself and your expansion, there's always something for the better for you. So I just took the clues and the breadcrumbs as they came and it unfolded and it was hard and challenging, as you said earlier, about it will trigger you and it will challenge you. But as we know, with the Kabbalah teachings that really supported me at that time as well, it's like, yeah, that's for your better. The doubt, good. Like have the doubt and move through the doubt. Come back to the light. Okay, good. Have the fear. You're on the edge of your expansion. Amazing. Be motivated and be excited by that rather than believing the thoughts and the illusions that that is your truth. If we believe that we are separate from life force, if we believe that we are separate from infinite potentiality, if we believe we are our stories of not enoughness, that's the suffering. And so I just started to wake up. And I really truly just believe that that's available to everyone and it's a constant unfolding. I still am a forever student and love to learn.
I think it's so beautiful, something that you mentioned about being at that rock bottom moment. I
Yeah.
think it's so important to speak to this because I think so many of us will hit that rock bottom or will go into kind of that dark night of the soul where it literally feels like, I mean, it is a death of an identity there, and is a death of the ego there. And we can literally feel like our world is splitting open and falling apart. And yet, and I think because of our conditioning, we have this isn't spoken to a lot in seeing how that is such an incredible portal into expansion and the way that your soul is leading you to this higher timeline. And yet for so many, because we don't know that, because we're not really, we haven't explored that perhaps for ourselves, it can be incredibly scary, and we tend to then stay stuck, or we tend to then choose another way. So let's talk a little bit about the potential with parallel realities and timelines, because
Mm.
I did listen to your last podcast episode and it's very similar to what I've been teaching as well. So I'd love to dive into this a little bit more about how, and I love how you said like it's in each moment, right? Having that, choosing that higher dimension or that higher reality for yourself, or that parallel reality, it's done in those moments when you choose love over fear, when you choose to not buy into the illusion and the stories, and instead you choose to align with your higher self. Now, this is the deconditioning that you talk about in human design. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do you want to
Yeah.
speak a little bit to that?
Yeah. And the biggest and most powerful aspect of this is the awareness. So when you believe you are your conditioned thoughts, so it's a little backtrack. I truly believe that it's not just our environment or our family or society that conditions us. I believe that our soul came here with a journey and we chose our conditioning and we chose the challenges, we chose the traumas, we chose what we needed to move through in order to have some form of evolutionary journey. And I love Sue Morta. She has an incredible book called Energy Codes, and she speaks about the bus stop example. So before we come here, we're all waiting at the bus stop, or the people in your experience, or you're waiting at the bus stop, and you're realizing or you're deciding what you want to learn in this lifetime. And we have to remember that us as humans, we are here to have an evolutionary journey. You see how humans have evolved over lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes. And so, we choose maybe, for example, for me, it was definitely to learn love and to learn unconditional love, especially for myself. So, okay, we're at the bus stop. I need to learn that in this lifetime, and I want to teach other people that. I want to teach people how to realize that they are a creator of their reality. Okay, so I'm going to choose to have an experience where I feel like a victim in my reality, where I feel that there is so much conditional love. So I will choose that experience in order to be able to learn what I came here to learn and to share that. And if you're in this type of work and if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming you are definitely somewhat of a light worker or someone that shares different types of things. There's somewhat of a mission. Let me just tell you that if you have a mission around that, you will have had a big experience around something because you're then becoming a guide in it. Even if it's not in your work, it's in your relationships and in your community. And so, I love her example where she says, okay, who's going to teach me and who's going to create conditional love in my life? Please, can someone help me to suffer from conditional love? So your mom or your dad reluctantly puts up their hand, or maybe that teacher, or maybe that thing of like, "Ugh, I don't want to do this, but I guess I can be that person in your life for you to learn." And then they have an experience in which they need to learn as well. And so you come here and you have your conditioning and you have your experience and you have the experience of forgetting your true divinity. That's to be a human. We come here to have that experience of forgetting that. And then you come back to remembering whether it's through a spiritual practice or whether that's just through age. Like you see, I love watching just elderly, incredibly wise, even just, I live near the beach and there's lots of people coming and going and holidaying where we are. And just like these gorgeous 80-year-olds who are just so prioritizing what's important in life and living what's so true to them, nothing to prove. And we all get there to a point of coming to true acceptance and love for yourself. And it's just how and when. And so this is where parallel destinies come in, and how I like to see it is that when we realize that our perception and our thoughts and our journey of remembering, and this is where human design comes in, because your human design is your blueprint and is your energetic map of your higher self. I like to think of it as your ultimate accountability buddy. So for you as a 1-3 mental projector, like when we look at your chart, whenever I look at someone's chart, like to me, I'm just, this person is so incredible. And I feel sometimes I have to catch myself looking at it because every time I'm like, wow, look at your chart. I get so excited to hear it because genuinely every single chart is so incredible and so beautiful because every single person is. And so when you can look at your chart and see, this is who I'm meant to be, this is what's possible for me, this, when I act and when I move forward with this knowing of my divinity and power and potentiality, rather than the illusions of my conditioning or the illusions of the forgetting or the illusions of the not self, which that creates, let's say, your not self experience, which is a lot of frustration, a lot of bitterness, a lot of suffering.
Mm.
So when we start to see what is who I truly am, and the human design chart does that beautifully and says, these are all your gifts. This is how you make your decisions. This is how your intuition speaks to you. This is how you make decisions. So you go into a different timeline of your truth. So in saying all this, awareness. So awareness of when in every moment of every day, you are in your illusions or your not self in human design, where you are believing your thoughts of lack, of victimhood. So even just how I said with the example of being in the bus stop, that totally transformed how I think, and Kabbalah speaks about this as well, of how I thought about, all of us have a story of our upbringing or have had a story of our experience, and not to not validate that. We've all had some version of conditioning or some version of trauma. And but what happens is that we continue to be a victim for the rest of our lives from that maybe one experience or multiple experiences or what have you. And it's like who actually then suffers? It's like that idea of drinking the poison so that the other person suffers. And it's like, no, we're the ones that are suffering. And so I've gone a very long way to speak about this. That
No, I love
what
it.
what I find it helpful is that when we can see everything from the awareness of our true self, which you can see in your human design, or your higher self, which is a feeling, which is your expansion in your body, which is that shift from fear to freedom or judgment to love or darkness to light, In those moments where you are able to shift from victimhood to creator, they are the little miracles every single day. They are that's the transformation.
Mm.
It's not that we're all love and light all the time. That's just not the human experience either. It's in the moments when the fear and the lack does come, because life will present you with opportunities to heal and to liberate yourself from any of these fears or lacks that isn't your truth. And so for a lot of people, they can say that they're stuck, or that they don't know enough, or that they aren't enough. And I love how Joe Dispenza says that never let one unconscious thought go past your awareness, because those unconscious thoughts are what creating your reality, because they create your perception of how you see the world. So all of a sudden, if your story is I don't know enough, you're constantly scanning the world and perceiving the world through your reticular activating system in your brain and in your awareness to confirm and create evidence to confirm your story.
Mm.
And so you're looking for evidence to confirm your story of not enoughness. And so when you can catch in the moment, and I have what's called the power practice, which is a combination of all different modalities, where we stop in the everyday, oh, a thought of lack just came up. This is for my better good to transform. What an opportunity, what a gift, because then you shift even into the frequency of gratitude and love, of realizing, wow, in this moment, I actually can transcend and liberate from this, rather than believe or think that I am that, because things we know for sure. If any other story that is not you are infinite potentiality and love and possibility and life force energy in motion, every other story is some form
It's
is a
not
story.
true. Yeah,
It's
it's
not true.
understanding the lies, right? I loved so much of what you said in that, and I've learned a lot from the Kabbalistic teachings around our soul's correction, our tikkun that we come in with that you speak of, but also this practice. You spoke about bringing the awareness, which is so powerful, the power of our conscious awareness to bring light to the shadow, and the shadow has obviously been leading us to bring light to that and to transform that. And Kabbalah talks about, saying that what a gift. Like, what if this is a gift? If I fully trusted that everything that's showing up right now is here for me, for my evolution that my soul has chosen, then even this crises that I'm up against, or even me being in this complete doubt and fear and resistance, or this relationship conflict, or whatever it is, to transform it around and see it as a gift and as an opportunity. I love, love, love that. I think that that is so powerful. And another thing that you spoke to so beautifully, which is very much in alignment with the Course of Miracles, is like Course of Miracles speaks of a miracle is a shift in perspective, a shift in our perspective, right? A
Hmm.
shift from fear to love, a shift from no longer listening to the lies of the ego mind that's just trying to keep us where we are. And when we can then speak truth to those lies and tell a new story that feels life affirming and feels in alignment with our higher self, that, they're the small miracles that anchor us into a higher timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always feel that any shift in perception is beneficial, because you can feel your whole frequency change. This is what everyone, all the old greats like the Abraham Hicks and the Wayne Dyers, and they were all just saying like your thoughts create your reality, and your frequency creates your reality. And the thing is that at the time though, there may not have been tools of like, okay, in the everyday, it was like, okay, just go do your meditation and say your affirmations, which are great. It hasn't been my journey around affirmations, but this is what I love, these practical tools of like, hey, a challenge or life has shown you right now, you can come from go down the spiral and go down in the victim consciousness, which you can get that like quick feeling of something. But in reality, it's like, okay, this is actually your opportunity, because in doing that, not only are you actually seeing what you're made of, you're starting to, as we said, you shift into a different parallel destiny or a different timeline. And I've so noticed this in myself now that I've had the awareness around it, of like, you meet a different version of your partner, you meet a different version of your mother, you meet a different version of the types of clients you connect with, without you actually being like, hey,
Yeah.
husband or partner, let's go to the men's retreat, or hey, go and mom, you need to read this book. No, like I've just met different versions. Even this morning, my mom sent me a text message saying, I'm really into the law of detachment. I'm really loving all learning. And she, and she's telling me like, let them from Mel Robbins. And, that's her thing that she's loving. And that has been absolutely by no means of my doing. It's just been a ripple on effect because things I know for sure, especially as a projector, you just have to let people be in their own process, and all you do is just operate in your own experience and your own journey and support and be there for when they need you. But I have just seen it. It's like your whole work shifts and changes, and this is where I love, my mantra is let it not make logical sense. And so when you do this self work, and we can call it a work, it's such a devotional practice. It's so fun to me. I'm like, cool. Another limiting thought just came into my awareness. And this is where I love parts work because I'll then give so much love to the fearful part because I don't believe in just bypassing and thinking that, fear, just go away, or I
Mm,
need to be back in love.
mm,
Like that is not actual shifting and changing. That's just further shame and judgment with yourself. And that's creating more of the energy that we're wanting to be liberated from, and more of this just not enoughness of like, now why am I fearful? Why am I shameful?
mm,
No, give so much love to that part of yourself. And then from that true place, shift it into seeing what is the meaning behind this. And this is what what I feel into when we're doing this type of work, when we can have actually a really book that impacted me that I loved was Man's Search for Meaning. And, he speaks about how us as humans, we need to have a sense of meaning in order, like more than just thriving, just in order to survive as humans and to especially to thrive. And so when we can see so much meaning in the challenges and in the deconditioning and in experiencing more freedom and love in our lives, then it then generates even more life force, which then benefits all areas of your life. And so what I have seen, it's like your business then benefits, your family then benefits, your life just naturally gets better. People come out of seemingly nowhere, but we know it's not nowhere, it's the universe plopping them into your life. Or you get a sellout business offering, or whatever portals you have open. And what I just love is that when you're in that energy of expansion, and it happens in the challenge mostly, it doesn't have to, but it can, is yeah, it's like let it not make logical sense. How your manifestations happen, how the how happens, how things just unfold in what seems, as you said, like miracles, but miracles are just an everyday thing. That's
yeah.
possible all the time.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I particularly love that about not making logical sense. I know for me, the quantum leaps, for me, the manifestations that have landed in did not make any logical sense. But in order to do that, we have to be able to let go of this
Mm,
idea that the mind is leading us and that the
mm,
mind is creating that. The mind just doesn't have that map, right? We have to trust in that our soul does. And I love that. Human design is so fascinating. So this is something that you met on your journey. You were a lawyer, is that right?
yeah, yeah.
So how did you, and you're a projector. Can you talk
Hmm.
to me about what happened for you and how you had been operating throughout your life and when you got to that point of like, is this all there is? And then you met human design. What was the shift there for you? And not only for you, but what you see in your clients when they finally, and I love
Oh.
this, how you painted this picture of your human design being like this blueprint of your highest self and this blueprint of your soul potential if you choose to align with that, because obviously we've all got free will and choices in this lifetime. How did that feel for you when you first discovered that from
Mm.
how you had been operating to what was now available or calling you forward? What did you meet with that?
Oh, a deep exhale. I still remember exactly when I first heard about it. It was on a podcast and I was on a beach walk and it was on a weekend. And as I said, I was working in the law firm during the week and it was like a full body tingling, felt like goosebumps. There's something here for me. And we all have experiences like this. So something that we're meant to explore. And I like to think of it as like your future is drawing you in or drawing you forward with the feelings you have in the moment. I love to like play with timelines and visit my past self, visit my future self
Mm,
because it's all happening now. So you can, like, I send love to her now as well because again, as I said, like she was so brave, or she is so brave because of all the change and all the unknowns that she stepped through. Because like now I have a trust in that, but she didn't have a trust back then. So she was doing so many leaps. Every single day was so many leaps. Like if I was doing the same amount of leaps right now, and that's actually something to reflect on for me, it's like wonder where I would even be if I was doing that amount of leaps, of that amount of trust falls as she was. Um, so I just remember it was this like full acceptance and no longer feeling like I was like just there's nothing like feeling fully seen as your soul. For so long, I was wearing identities that I thought I had to be, trying to prove myself, burning myself out, trying to live in this world that nothing was ever enough, and being pretty much operating the exact opposite to what my truth and what my life force was naturally wanting to do. And as I said, I just think that's the process we have because when you come back to who you truly are in your life force, it becomes more sacred. It becomes this devotional knowing because you don't know what you missed until it's gone. And so we're like this as children. We lose it along the way, or we feel disconnected from it along the way, and we come back to that energy. And so what I see even in my clients, even just in a 1 hour session, even in a conversation, sometimes when I just have a conversation with people around and you have one conversation, you feel their whole energy change. And that's from that frequency of feeling like they don't belong or feeling fear and not enough and lack. And just by you reflecting back to them who they truly are, their whole energy changes, their whole everything changes. All of a sudden, they start to see themselves clearly. So they see the world clearly because you can't understand the true nature of the universe if you don't understand your true nature of yourself. And if you don't understand your true nature of yourself, which is divine, limitless, powerful, abundant, loving, gifted. Like people don't realize that they are a conduit for life force energy, that they are a conduit of infinite potentiality, that anything is possible for them. And sometimes that can be too hard to grasp, like that knowing.
Yeah.
Which I really felt into, like that, which I really truly felt into through meditation and breath work, probably. But what human design does is that it gets you on a conscious level. So it meets people where they're at. So it meets people on a very conscious mind, actually, quite a mind level of like your conscious mind being able to understand what your unconscious and what your divine body already knows.
Mm.
And so when I speak to someone of like, do you realize how strong your intuition is? You have this splenic intuition. It knows in the moment the instinct. You know that feeling? They'll say yes. That's what you're meant to trust. That mind coming in because you have an undefined ajna that really likes to cling on to certainty. That's actually not your decision maker. It's your splenic knowing in the moment, and it's going to tell you when it's a really strong no. But you're here to, trust. If someone's a generator, you're here to trust your gut and what lights you up, and that's what you're here to magnify and amplify and to be service of the world. And you need to have your sacred no that is going to, that is your basically like your guide that is telling you when something is not aligned for you, because that will just be a fast track to frustration. These little things, or I'm like, you have
Mm.
gate gate 39, you're here to provoke higher consciousness in people. Some people will find it triggering, but that's not something that you need to then be smalling yourself. And what happens is that people are like, okay, all of these parts that I actually have judged myself in the past are actually my gifts. The things that have made me different is what I'm here to more step into. So it not only gives you that self-acceptance, for me, what the journey has been is because to jump to self-love was too far of a stretch. But through the self-acceptance, it was like, okay, well, there's nothing actually wrong with me, or there's not parts that I have to judge about myself. I can fully accept myself. And then in turn, I'll fully accept people around me, because if you don't accept yourself, you're not sure as hell not going to accept other people around you. And so from there, I started to see, well, okay, well, if there's nothing wrong with me, and then if I actually have some things going for me that I can trust, or I have this life force that I can trust, um, then I can start moving towards an intuitive decision rather than staying small in the like what my mind logically sees as possible. That's why I come back to like, let it not make logical sense. If you want a miraculous big life, you can't be living from the small-minded, conditioned self.
Mm.
You
Mm.
just can't. It's like
Mm.
you'll say no to things. You'll only perceive from the limited consciousness view, and you'll push away things that could be amazing for you. You won't put yourself in places that that can expand you.
Mm.
Um,
So
so yeah, it
beautiful.
opens up a whole new world for you.
Yeah.
That's what my experience was, and that's what I've seen with hundreds and hundreds of clients.
Mm. Such a beautiful map for people to like to be seen. And you said
Hmm.
something really important as well about just finding that acceptance. So the parts of us that we'd maybe judged or disowned or thought that there was something wrong are actually where our superpower lies. And in being able to meet ourselves there and find that level of acceptance, it's like we're saying yes to that part of us, like to the soul self that's here to lead us forward. So I just think it's, and as I said to you, I only kind of came into human design in these last few years. And it brings together, I've taught around the chakra system as a yoga teacher for so long, and breath work and Vedic, and like it just brings so many different modalities into this one system. And I think it's can be challenging to grasp because there's so many different it's like you're speaking a different language, particularly when you say like things about this gate and blah blah blah. Like for someone that is newer to this work but is intrigued and wants to know a little bit more, like what would you say is in the important pieces to start to discover and look into? Because from the outside you can look at it all and go like this is like a whole nother language, particularly if you're not familiar with your energetic system. It can seem like this is all really new. Where does somebody start in understanding how this can be such a liberating tool for them to not only understand themselves more, but understand more about their purpose and how they're called to be of impact and so forth? Is that a big
Yeah.
question?
No, no, not at all. I love big questions. So, firstly, generate your chart. I'll send you a link so they can generate a chart, a free chart, so you can actually see. There's billions and billions of configurations of human design, and that's what I really love is that it's super unique for who you are. And I just want to remind everyone that it's life exploration. I think something within our society is that we have to get to the end task or the end goal. And we even see this. I have so many people come to me of like, what's my end purpose? What's my purpose in this lifetime? And I want to remind people that like your purpose is always evolving in the similar way that your life force is always evolving and your identity and who you are as a person. We are all multidimensional, all ever changing, ever evolving, energetic beings. And I think sometimes as well, people are looking for the end clarity. And what happens is that the clarity, like we're so rushing to this end destination. It's like imagine if you were on a holiday and you're rushing to the last day of the holiday and thinking like, no, I don't care about all the holiday. I just want to get to the end. Like we're going to back home and like let it finish. And you see people that live their life like that. I used to be one of them in such a rush all the time. It was so uncomfortable to actually sit and enjoy. So within human design, it's all an experimentation and it's all an embodiment and an experience of it. And the clarity continues to unfold and to unfold. And the deepening of the experience unfolds on olds. I'm in my 8th year of playing with this modality and it just gets better and better and deeper and deeper. And I remember even maybe one year in, I was like, wow, like I know so much and blah, blah, blah. And I'll be saying the same thing in 8 more years' time or 20, 30, 40 more years' time. So it's something that will grow with you and create more and more liberation within you. So the people, and as well, the clarity will keep coming. Like, I'm just feeling called to share this is like often people are asking for more and more clarity, but they're not even acting on the current clarity that they have. And it's like, how is the universe going to be able to send you even more when your vessel isn't even holding and moving forward of what you have now? And it's because we're constantly looking for confirmation that we can be certain that it'll work out exactly the way we want it to work out. And we know that true certainty is understanding that it will unfold exactly how it's meant to unfold for the highest good for our evolutionary journey. And so we need to move forward without the 1000% bulletproof plan, but trusting that where you're feeling called in this moment has a higher purpose and you will meet yourself in deeper ways through that. And so, similarly with human design, yeah, generate your chart. And always the first step is your energy types. For there's 5 different energy types. We're both projectors here, and you can just do a little deep dive. I have podcasts for each energy type. I dedicate 1 hour for each, and that was even a stretch. I'm like, give me 2 hours to talk about each. But really, at the end of the day, the overarching common denominator with all of the energy types, and by far the most important part of human design, is your body awareness. It's understanding your intuitive navigating system, because your life experience is determinant on your life choices, the choices you make. And what people don't realize is that they are making unconscious choices every single day. That's not who they truly are. It is their conditioned self. It's called your not self in human design. So I can say, like, it was definitely my not self who chose to study law. It was definitely my not self who chose to, um, go for all the law jobs and end up in family law. And it was also my not self who decided to be in certain relationships or certain friendships or what have you. There was hundreds of thousands of not self decisions, and I still make them to this day. It's just like we go through the same practice with what I call the power practice. Is what I navigate through. Like, oh wow, I'm seeing myself right now needing to prove myself. Right now I'm seeing that my mind is scared, or my mind doesn't want any form of change, so it's going to procrastinate right now. And we start to see that the mind, it's in human design, it's called, we're operating from body consciousness. So it's making your decisions intuitively, connecting with your inner expansion, connecting with what feels most aligned with your soul beyond what the mind will condition you to believe. So that's the overarching. And so that's why uh, it is about understanding how your life force wants to move, naturally moves, because we have to remember that that's for a reason. You're then in your path of least resistance. Like, why are we trying to swim up the stream and make the struggle and make it hard and force ourselves through, rather than trusting what our natural process is, what we're here to do and what we're here to learn and what we're here to contribute to this world? Because that's the whole point, is here to grow and contribute. um, that's when we have, it's not always easy. It's not like life is ever always easy, but it's fulfilling and it's meaningful. Um, and so that's the most important piece of human design. In every single energy type, it'll be a different part in your body that tells you, and it also tells you what your role is here. So us as projectors, we're here to guide, here to lead, here to share what we think, here to share the perspectives. There is a gift of the projector to be able to see things clearly in whatever their interest and curiosity is, especially you with a 1-3. That's a very much a teacher and a very curious soul. You love to get to the bottom of things, love to do your research. Like, I love 1-3s. My partner's a 1-3, my best friend's a 1-3, both projectors. And like, you can trust what a 1-3 says. Like, a 1-3 will not say bullshit, like will
See,
not ever say something that you don't feel like you haven't done your study in, or haven't done some life experience in.
yeah, but that can hold us back too, right?
Yeah,
Because there's
so
that part of
much.
us then that thinks that I don't know enough and I never feel ready enough, because we're always looking for more in a way. So I can also see the shadow aspect of that in myself, where I will hold myself back because I do want to go so deep into the information and the understanding. And for me, it's like, I got to peel back another layer. But what's that? What's
Yeah.
that? And I can see how that can be, that is a hindrance as well, which is, there's always that,
It's
right?
big for 1-3s. It's
Mm.
actually, it kind of breaks my heart a little bit when the 1-3s in my spaces, how hard they are on themselves and how much they get in their own way. And that's where we always have to check our energy behind it. Because yes, you're here to study and get to the bottom of things and become the expert. You're here to be an expert. But there's a fine line where it is then operating from lack, scarcity, fear, not enoughness. And so I always recommend to 1-3s, like, yes, go learn, but check your energy behind it. Is there genuine curiosity or excitement? Or are you learning
Yeah.
to go get a piece of paper that says you're now qualified, even though you don't really care about that course, or even though, like, you can feel the energy behind what you're doing, like, oh, I got to go study this thing because I don't know enough, and blah, blah. Stop,
Mm.
pause, opportunity to shift this energy, and then see when you come from your true self place of curiosity, because that you're a very curious soul. Would I actually want to do this? And like, what do I feel called to explore? And so there always is going to be this experience of imposter syndrome when you're stretching to your next level. I don't even like that term because but it's just a commonly used term. All
Mm.
I just see it's your expansion and there will be some stretchiness. And if you're scared, good. Be scared and move forward anyway. Be scared and trust that I always think, what is the worst case scenario? And ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? Someone asks you a question you don't know, or you look silly or you look dumb. Okay, you look like no one is thinking that. That's just your own perception. But even if you did, you'll be fine. And I think it's so liberating, even as a teacher, to be like, I'll get back to you. I'll let you know. I say that, like I'm like, I really love it when some of my students will ask me a question that I've never thought about. And I'm like, I have never thought about that question. And it actually makes me so happy because I'm like, wow, look at like, that is such a good thought. And I've never thought of that. Can we like, let's do some research. Let's discover this.
Yeah.
I think it's scary if someone think that they know everything. And
Well, I
so
think the
again,
more that you learn and the more that you understand, the more that you know, the more that you realize that you don't know. I mean, we're never going to stop. There's always more. And
absolutely.
it's interesting because we are living through a time where we have access to more
Yeah.
information than we ever had before. We are continually bombarded by
Hmm.
voices outside of ourselves. So what you said about understanding the way that and is that your authority would be my question, the way that you receive guidance, or are you looking at more of the gates there? Because I'm not too super familiar with that, but whatever it is, I think that that is so important and so empowering because you're right, that is the way that life and our soul and our guidance team, whatever the way you want to look at it, is communicating to us. So to be
Yeah.
able to understand where that lies for ourselves and where we can get more clarity on that, I think is so important. So, what is that piece? Is that like me being the mental projector, or is that like different gates and things?
With the connection to divine life, to
To your
intelligence.
no, yeah, to your guidance team, to your
Yeah, that's
intuition.
your authority. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your mental authority. Especially with your mental authority, you're so open underneath. Your body is so open. So that's just a clear channel. And so what this helps with the authority. So authority is basically just how your intuition is connecting and how God is communicating through you or how the universe is communicating to you. They say that that's your intuition. It's divine communication. And so when we can have awareness on that. And so a lot of the time, like people, I'm sure people have heard like all the answers are within you,
Yeah.
or you got all your answers. And a lot of the time, people are like, "What do you mean? I don't know. What are my answers?" And so, what that is your authority. It's like this part of your body or your all it is when we think of an overarching there's seven different types of authorities, but if we want to do an overarching, it is an expansion in your body. When you feel an expansion, and people also say, like, I just got hit with an idea, or clarity dropped in, or I downloaded this, or this is coming through. And I'll often be saying that I'm like, I'm feeling called to share this because this is what's coming through.
Yeah.
And it is this almost idea or truth that's coming through you. And what happens is we discount it, or our mind comes in 2 seconds later and talks us out of it. And I notice this to myself all the time. It's when your intuition says, grab this thing as you're running out the door, and then you say, oh
Yeah.
no, that's silly. And of course, it's the one thing that you need. Actually, something recently happened to me. I never park my car out the front of my place, and my intuition was like, no, park underneath. And I ignored it. I was like, nah, I'll park up the front. And then overnight, some like school kids must have come around and took off everyone's windscreen wipers.
Hmm.
And I was just like, oh, thank you for reminding me how important it is to remember my intuitive voice, even in just those small things. Because if I would have listened and parked my car underneath, I wouldn't have had that memory right then. I wouldn't have had that knowing. I just wouldn't have realized that my car wouldn't have been vandalized. So sometimes we have the moments where we don't listen to our intuition, and I just see it as that even sacred reminder to really truly remember to listen to it in the future. So yes, divine intelligence is always available, and that's why it's so important to create space and awareness, because that information is always around. This is what scientists speak about. It's just like life and this reality is all just data. It's all just information, and we are picking up on information. And whether we allow it and trust it, or whether we talk ourselves out of it, exactly how you said, of like, if, for example, the everything in human design will have a lower expression and a higher expression. So your the 1-3 lower expression is never sharing all the incredible divine intelligence and wisdom that they have, and always keeping themselves in the safe and known, because the 1-3s can be a little bit more risk adverse and when they're in their lower expression. And so witnessing yourself in that story and just trusting when your curiosity, or you're wanting to share, or you have life experience, or you're wanting to move in a different direction, and coming from that higher seen intuition and that frequency and where that momentum is wanting to take you, because in doing that you are following your life force. All the yogis say follow your prana. And so what we have to remember is that people and places and opportunities want to connect with you in your life force. And this is what I see as the biggest business hack, is people want to connect with life force. This is why people, we speak, business coaches and people speak so much about authenticity, but what they're not realizing, it's not authenticity and like you got to be relatable, or you got to be, authentic from a intellectual place. No, be in your life force energy and just flow and follow and share and allow. That's authentic expression, and that's an authentic energy. And so people want to just connect with other people that they feel that energy from. It's like we connect with people to taste a little bit of the divine through them. And so, and I'm just feeling called to share this, even like you mentioned this, I can't remember, I think you mentioned this, or maybe it's just coming to me of like, yeah, you said this with business things doesn't even make sense. It's like, I remember I did a survey, or like it was just part of my form when people joined the certification of how did you decide to join this space. And it was like I just connected with your energy. I connected when you shared. It was like you understood and you got me. You really, the way you shared human design, it's so tangible and practical, and I felt so seen or resonated with it. And it was just the vibe, it was the energy, it was my gut instinct. Never once was it like, I really loved your funnel, or I really loved like every single thing you said on your sales page. No
Yeah.
one's even reading your sales page. I never read a sales page. I'm like, love this person. I want to feel a bit of this, more of this energy. I feel this potentiality in them. I feel this wisdom in them. I feel that this is opening something within me. So I'm connecting to this life force. And that's all people want. That's why people connect with you in your day-to-day life. This is where we, as we said, we go into these timelines. So what human design is doing is helping you be able to consciously become aware of where is your life force guiding you, where is your intuition saying there's expansion, there's something here, these nudges, these curiosities, these callings, these feelings, rather than what your logical rational mind is saying, because that's full of your conditioning. So that's just the most important bit of your authority and your energy type. So they're
Mm.
the number two.
So beautiful. All of what you said then. I mean, it's just that leaning into the energy. And also, that's why I love podcasting so much, is because, we are living in a day and age where we can be in this transmission, right? And people will come and they will connect with me because they've listened to the podcast and they've been in that energy. And it's a way that you can develop a relationship with people and develop a level of intimacy that we wouldn't have had, I don't know how many years ago before there was podcasts, right? And I think that it's such a gift to have a medium like that where people can share themselves and be in their truth and be in their authenticity. And that just makes me so happy. And I love supporting women to do this as well. It's like you have something here to share. You have a story to share. You have a message to share. You have your soul truth to share. And that is enough. And it's so beautiful. And I think that the thing that holds so many of us back
Mm-hmm.
is the reluctance to step into the unknown and to step into the discomfort. And often, when we are being called by our soul, we are going to be called to do things that are uncomfortable. I mean, this was me 18 months ago in starting a podcast. I knew that it was the
Oh,
next step,
wow.
I knew that it was the guidance after we'd sold the business. It was like I was in the void, but this was the continual thing that kept coming through. But yes, it was uncomfortable. Yes, I
Yeah.
had to meet different things about myself and bring it into light and bring it into love and all of that. But I think that we have such a small appetite for risk and for the discomfort. And you mentioned about like wanting to go to that end state straight away and kind of bypass the journey because we want to have that guarantee that everything is going to work out. And Kabbalah
Mm.
teaches us that it is. We're here, we're having this experience, everything is for us and supporting us. So I heard you talk about the bridge of events or the bridge of incidents. So you've obviously got a bit of the teachings that come through from perhaps Neville Goddard as well. You've spoken about the power of awareness. So when we're in this, when we have this opportunity to choose a higher timeline, to choose a new identity, right? And we've got that presented to us. And then we start to experience the way that life begins to organize a series of events that often don't make any logical sense, that carry us from our current reality into the fulfillment of our desire, right? Into the manifestation of that higher level outcome, whatever it is that we're calling in. I'd love to explore like how can we normalize what we might experience on this bridge in real time? Like how can we stay anchored into this identity or this higher vibrational state even when we look around and the external circumstances around us seem to reflect the old reality? Because this
Ah,
is in all honesty what happens for most of us, right?
yeah, and me too. Absolutely. And firstly, I just want to say congratulations. That's such a big deal. Even in 18 months, what you've created. It's so like
Yeah.
celebrating you for trusting that. And then what of service you are for other people from that. And then how inspiring that is. And
Thank
just to like even mirror that back of like, yeah, being like, okay, well, this business, I'm going to be letting that iteration that is now complete, the
you.
previous businesses you have, and being like, okay, that was amazing at one point. It's no longer feeling resonant right now. I'm going to trust where I'm feeling called. And then look what you've created. And then it's just, I love to hear that. It's just so
Mm.
important for, um, yeah, for people to see what is possible when you just give something a chance.
Yeah,
Uh,
100%. I love
so
to share that as
amazing.
well because
Yeah.
we all have that. We all have those callings and
Yeah.
I could have held myself back, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
the leap, right? Mm.
Yeah, it always is. And everything in life will be that. It's, it's, so you mentioned about the bridge of events. Absolutely. So actually, and I can even give you another example for people. So I have a woman who we're just wrapping up this cohort in the certification, and she was working, a really intense corporate role, and she's also a projector. Was really like, when life is really pushing you to start making different decisions. Like we've all been there. You start getting the boss starts getting, you get a new boss that's hard to work with. You might have a colleague that somehow there's starting to be drama, or you get even made redundant, or the universe starts to intervene. Is like, come on, we
To
need you
make
to
you
come back on your
uncomfortable.
path.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or a health incident. That was my experience, and mine was also the boss thing. Um, and now I'm so grateful because it made it so hard that I needed to leave. Anyway, she did the brave thing, left her job. She had a period of about a few weeks where she's recovering from burnout, and she's like, I'm starting my human design business. She's just like, we're just finishing the certification. She goes to yoga one morning, runs into an old friend from high school that she hasn't seen in 20 plus years, and they end up getting coffee afterwards. And this friend tells her basically a very similar story of, I'm in corporate, I really want to leave. I don't know what to do though. I don't really know what's next for me. And the woman in the certification, her name's Andrea, was like, well, I've just learned human design. I'm starting my human design experiment. It's actually just totally changed my life. And I'm starting my business now, and I left my job. And in that moment, this long lost friend said, sign me up. I want to be your first client. Whatever you're doing, I want to just do it. And this was in like within a few days of her deciding that she was going to start her business. And, this is an example of the bridge of events. That's a very obvious example. But when we start, and like, so this is how I see it, and I mentioned it earlier, your future is drawing you in. It's drawing you forward. And this is why, if you've gone to a woman's circle, if you've done any form of any form, there's been like often a visualization, like visualize your future self, visualize your higher self. And for a lot of people, there can be this overwhelm of like, that feels so far away from me. It's too overwhelming. And what happens when we create overwhelm in our mind? We end up doing nothing. We end up procrastinating. We feel like it's too out of reach. That's not possible for me. This whole idea of it's not possible for you is one of the biggest lies we tell ourselves of like, no, that's just not in my reality. I can't do that. And it's just because your current consciousness or your current timeline, that is just too out of realms. But when we start shifting our awareness and our experience and our behavior and our timelines, you start to come into that field in which that is inevitable. That's why I often will say, like, you become the person who naturally aligns and manifests, like just naturally manifests the things that you desire. So for example, for you, you became the person who, of course, they had a podcast. Like, why wouldn't I have a podcast? Yeah, okay, we'll go buy the mic. Okay, we'll go invite that guest. Okay, like it's not even a thought process because you became her.
Mm.
And so, and I'm sure you did all the mindset and all the releasing and all the stepping through fear and all the stretchiness. So what the Bridge of Events speaks about is that that future will create seemingly unrelated, I don't know how this goes together, series of events that lead you into that higher timeline or into that manifested, that desired reality, let's say that. And so we're not going to know why you feel called to study that course because the logical mind will think, oh, I'm studying this course to get certified. And like for example, I've done some yoga training. I'm a breath teacher. I've done like lots of different trainings because I'm just a one line and love it. A lot of them, yes, I learned things, but a lot of them was through the people I met in them. A
Mm.
lot of them was through the ideas I got on that retreat that had nothing to do what I was learning, but I just created some space. I was in the frequency for it, and it was a whole idea or a whole, new opportunity that came through meeting someone in that space. But I wouldn't have understood that from my logical mind beforehand because that's part of the free will and destiny piece, and just part of being in this linear time experiences. You don't know, you can't see into the future, and that's the gift of it, that's the benefit of it. So all we can do is trust this next intuitive step, knowing that your future self or your consciousness or the divine has popped that or placed that awareness within you right now because it's the next available step. And then when you can have the allowance of like openness of what could be instead of trying to um, control everything. If
Yeah.
you try and control life, it equals suffering. When you're constantly trying to control life, it's a winning battle. It's like, I love the example of it's like life and it being uncertain and it being unpredictable. It's like telling the sun to move 5 meters when you're out, you're outside and you want the sun to be in the place that you want it to be. Or it's like being annoyed that you go into the ocean and you get wet.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you go in the ocean, you get wet. The sun's going to shine where the sun wants to shine. Life is unpredictable. Life is uncertain. So it's uncertain even if you're in your known career or known job, or it's uncertain when whether your family member will walk in at the end of the day. Like we just have these ideas of what is certain and what is not. And so when you can have so much certainty in your intuitive knowing, like my whole life has been created from that little nudge and that little inkling, and all that has since happened with this business that is so much like I would have never guessed how successful this business has become, or this life that I live, or the relationship I have with myself, or the relationship I have with my partner or others. And it didn't make sense to me. I remember sitting in my law cubicle thinking that this, what I have right now, was impossible. I remember thinking, no, that's not possible. But you take each step until all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, well, and so I now know that in such a deep core of my being that what I now think, wow, really? Could I do that? Or could that be possible? We're just talking about like, oh, okay, like could I have this space of this retreat center? Could I be creating these,
Oh yeah, that's done. That's
that's
done.
done. That's an easy one. That's an obvious one. That's just one step. Obvious, but then the ones that you're like, wow, really? They're the ones I'm really excited about. They're the
Mm.
ones I'm like that get me going a bit, that actually scare me.
Yeah.
Cool, amazing, get excited because that's obvious. That's going to happen. It's just when.
It's so beautiful. I teach women how to like fall in love with their desires and dance with their
Yeah.
desires, right? Because it's there for us. It's guiding us forward. And when we start to lean into that, it's a really beautiful thing. And that allows the unfolding. And Kabbalah teaches us so much about that as well. Like we are here to receive. We're here to let it in and allow it, not to figure it out, not to go and make it happen, not to chase after it, not to control it, but to be the vessel that allows the light to come in.
Yeah.
And we're continually being, life is here to support us to continue to upgrade that vessel. And like, how much capacity do I have now? Right now, how much am I willing to let this light in? And I've loved so much of this, like all of this conversation. It's so beautiful. And Hillary, you have such a gorgeous way. You come from so much love. Like, even I'm sure all of the parts work that you do that we haven't even dived into a lot, but I love this idea of just like going and meeting that part of you and inviting it into love and like loving it into life. And I think I can tell that's why people would be so drawn to work with you as a facilitator and a teacher, because all that exists, all that's real is love. And when we feel that we're being met in that place by someone who's here to guide us, as you are as a projector, I just think that that is everything. That is so beautiful. And what you can then see in others as that projector and as that guide is then such a gift that supports their transformation. So I just wanted to reflect that back to you
Thank
because I
you.
think that that's so beautiful and so important and so vital. And I feel like I could have gone into so much more in this. Like we've touched on all of these different areas and probably scraped the surface. But for people that are interested to dive a little bit more into your world or maybe pursue, could you want to speak to your certification that you've got coming up? Because that sounds phenomenal.
Thank you. And firstly, thank you for your words. There's nothing like being seen by a projector. So thank you. And you're seeing in me what you have within you. And so I think it's really beautiful, as you said, with all of this type of work is to approach with so much love because that's where the true healing and all that's the only way that we're actually going to become more free. It never happens from being hard on yourself as someone that was extremely hard and terrible to themselves. So thank you for that. And yeah, the certification is such a beautiful portal for those who are wanting to dive deeper within human design. It goes so much deeper than that. It's a 6 and a bit month course where we dive into the deepest aspects of yourself and your human design. And I also bring in all the other modalities that we've spoken about today and that we love, and including Kabbalah, IFS, the Vedic wisdoms, breath work, all the somatics, because I really truly believe that when we bring all of this together, it up levels everything. And what I have found and what past students have experienced is not only do they become accredited and certified as a human design practitioner and reader, but their whole awareness and sense of self and how they perceive the world and what is possible for them, and then what they then create in the world totally transforms. And it's even so beautiful, like the mums in the space, how they start learning about their kids and transforming how they parent, then their relationships, and most importantly, their relationship to self. So it's my favorite space. So thank you for asking. And yeah, we're enrolling for our September, October cohort at the moment.
Beautiful. And that's all online, right? That's all like,
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah.
So great. I will pop all of those details in the show notes. I'm intrigued to know the Hillary that you are now, your evolved wise self. If you could go back to that Hillary in the law cubicle, like
Mm,
what would you say? What would you say to her? And I'm sure you've done this many times and gone back to her and spoken to her.
mm. Yeah, I think really the only thing that I do when I go visit her is give her love. But really, all I would say is keep going and trust, keep going and trust. And to be honest, and it's really interesting when you do this type of work, and I'll go back to her. Sometimes, like it'll come, I'll be driving and I'll think of it, and I'll just say like, "You're good. Keep trusting and keep going." And I remember hearing that voice when I was there. I remember just like being like, I can trust this. I can quit this. I can quit this job. There is something else. I can trust this. Even though the conditional mind was so much louder. Like we're talking like that was like a point zero 0.01. My logical mind was 1,000. But I remember that. So I wouldn't change anything, but yeah, keep going and trust. And I still say that to myself now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Like I'm the same whenever I tune into my soul guidance particularly with the work I do with clients as well, it's
Yeah.
always just so affirming, like have faith, have
Yeah.
trust. You're right where you need to be.
Yeah.
Keep going. Like
Hmm.
it's all here, right? It's all
Yeah.
us. If we just learn to really let go and allow the beautiful unfolding of what our soul has chosen for
Yeah.
us, we're going to open up the space for so much incredible magic and miracles to occur. So thank you for
Yeah.
voices like you and your energy and the work that you
Thank
do.
you.
I think is so impactful and so vital. So what a gift you are. Thank you, Hillary. Big
Thank you. And thank you for these incredible questions and conversation. I feel like it's always really nice when we can go this deep. So thank you.
mm,
It's like I have what's called an undefined throat, and those who you will have an undefined throat actually as well if you're a mental projector. And it's really dependent on how deep you can go and what comes through, dependent on like the stimulus in front of you or the person in front of you or what's available. So I'm really
Yeah,
happy that we
yeah,
connected.
it's
It's really
great, isn't
fun.
it? I was
Yeah.
actually talking to my husband about this because I've been on a number of different podcasts and everyone is so different. Depending on who's there
Yeah.
holding the space and where you go is going to depend on what's going to come through
Yeah.
me as well. So
Yeah.
and
And
that's
it's always
why I love
perfect.
having conversations like this. Beautiful.
Yeah, I know. I feel like it's such a powerful thing as an undefined thread to always just trust like whatever was meant to come through went through. And like that was exactly perfect because similar with Kabbalah's teaching, it's like their vessel or the vessel of the community, they will receive what they can hold and what they need. And it'll bring
Yeah.
out an energy and an essence of you. Because I've had a lot of people with an undefined throat feeling like, oh, I don't feel like I could like say what I wanted to say, or I didn't go as deep as I wanted to go, or I felt like I didn't use the right words. And it's like, no, trust that the exact words that were meant to be said came through because that was what was said. And that was what that other person or that place could hold. Because then it wouldn't be any other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hillary.
Thank
I
you.
will put all the details in the show notes for people that want to reach out to Hillary. Please do because she's gorgeous and I love, love, love human design. And I heard you speaking with that with your certification, and there's that part of me. It must be that one in me that's like, oh yeah, maybe. We'll see.
Let
But
it
thank you
sit.
so
Let
much.
it sit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.